Hello friends, I am Kevin DeForge, CEO and founder of Echodify, and I am going to walk you through the process of making connections on the Echodify web app. The way I will do this is to put two web browsers side by side, which I have done here, one on the right and one on the left, and I will log into two different accounts so that I can show you how to, from one account, go ahead and make a connection request to another account. And then we'll look at that other account and see how to accept that connection request and some other things as well. So let's get started. On the browser on the left, let me log into one of my accounts here. And we use multi-factor authentication, so I will pick up my phone and enter the code. And I am logged into what we call the start page. And this might look different from what your start page looks like as we, continue to improve the website. And then in the browser on the right, let me go ahead and log into a different account. And then again, wait for the multi-factor authentication code and plug that in. Okay, so we have two accounts. So envision yourself having one of these accounts. And maybe someone else who has already come to Echodify.com and registered for an account, they have the other account. And I will show you how to send that person a connection request. So let's just look at a broad overview of these two accounts. So on the browser here on the left, this is the username ambient drone, which is me. On the browser on the right, this is for the person with the username of Rob DeForge. And we're going to send a connection request from one to the other. The browser that I will always put as the one that is in primary focus will be the browser on the left. This one here, just because it's my primary account that I'm logged into here. So let's look at this browser here on the left, and let me show you where to go to first actually look at your connections if you have any. And that would be along the top menu. If you take your mouse, hover over, or if you're using an assisted device, if you tab over to the handshake for connections, and you click or you hit enter, and you get the drop down, you can see there are three options: family, friends, and organizations. This is the way that it just kind of made sense to us to divide out your different types of connections with people. Family and friends obviously are people or individuals, and organizations are, organizations, businesses, or different types of entities or libraries, societies, religious institutions, etc., that you might want to connect with in order to bequest or leave a legacy. So you can click on any one of these, and to start with, I'm going to click on the family option here. And when I do that, I'm brought to the family connections page. And the first step here is, in order to make a connection, I need to search for the person I want to connect to. Now, I am going to assume right now that that person is already a member of Echodify. Maybe I told them about Echodify. Maybe I sent them a link or an invitation. And for the moment, just envision that the person that you want to connect with already has an account on Echodify, which is the easiest way to connect with someone. And we'll cover other scenarios in a little bit. But if that person's already on Echodify, maybe you know about it because, they're family and you just know, you can search by name. So I'll just search for the last name, DeForge. And when I do that, I'll get some results. I'll get a listing of matches based on display name. And then I will get a list of matches based on first and last name. And I'm actually finding Rob DeForge, the person I want to connect to, in both. So I have a couple options when this happens, and I actually find the person. Number one, there are buttons here that appear right on their profile card. That's this little card that appears in the search results. That's called a profile card. And among those buttons are add family and add friend. So right here from the profile card, I can click that button and it will initiate the connection request. But secondly, if I want to make sure that this is the person that I want to connect to, I can either click the display name or the avatar icon, in which case this person, Rob DeForge, does not have one, so it's this default person, this blue person here. I can click on any one of those and I'll come to their profile. And at the top of their profile, underneath their name, Rob DeForge, I will also have the buttons to add family and add friend. And so maybe I'm glancing through this person's profile and I just know that this is the correct person. So I'm going to click on add family and I'm presented with a confirmation, and yes, I want to add this person, so I'm going to click add. And then there it is, the connection request was sent. So I can see already on their profile, I have a cancel connection request button that appears here. So the web app knows I sent the connection request and it's adjusting the options that appear on their profile accordingly. But alternatively, if I go to the upper left and I click on the name Echodify, which is going to bring me back to the start page, and if I come down here to this sidebar and I click the plus sign to expand it out, just scrolling down a little bit, I can see that there is a connection requests section on this expanded sidebar. And I can see immediately that I have sent, because it's under the sent, a connection request to Rob DeForge, and there's that cancel button again. And now I have to wait, because now the next step is basically up to Rob DeForge. So let's go ahead and look at the browser on the right. So now we're going to kind of make pretend we're Rob here. And I'm just going to refresh this page so it gets fresh information, including my connection request. And when Rob comes here and clicks on the plus to expand the sidebar, he's going to come down to this place where it says connection request, and he will see that he has received a connection request from Ambient Drone. Hopefully he'll recognize that's me. And he has the option to accept or decline, and I'm going to go ahead and accept, so I'm going to click accept. And he has a confirmation page here to confirm that on, and I will go ahead and click on accept as family. Now, Rob DeForge, he's received your connection request and you sent it from your family page, but it's kind of irrelevant, which page this connection appears on, whether it's a friend or a family. It's basically up to you. So you sent this connection request from your family page. So regardless of what Rob does, so long as he accepts it, his profile card is going to show on your family page. But Rob has a choice. He can accept your connection request as family, or for some reason, if he wants to accept it as a friend, he can. And if he does, he will see your profile card appear on his friends page. I'm going to go ahead and accept as family. So I click that button. The web app refreshes and I'm back to the start page. So now let's look to see if the connection actually was made. Couple things. If I'm Rob DeForge, I will go ahead and expand the sidebar. And down here in the connection request, I can see that I no longer have that connection request. Likewise for myself, for Ambient Drone, let me go ahead and just refresh this start page on my browser. I'm just going to click on the refresh button, and it basically just reloads everything and refreshes the data available. And I will go ahead to the sidebar here and click the plus to expand it out. And again, the same thing. I notice that my connection request no longer shows here. And that's because if now I go to the top under the handshake, which are my connections, and I click on family, Rob DeForge is now listed. I am now connected to Rob DeForge. For me, as family. If I'm Rob DeForge here on the right-hand side and I do the same thing, I go to my handshake and I click on family, and I can see, aha, I am now connected to Ambient Drone as family. When you make a connection your connection is now available to your echoes, your shouts, and your virtual legacies as selectable to build your recipient list in any of those 3 products that we do offer. And I'll show you that maybe in another video when we actually look at echoes, shouts, and virtual legacies. But connecting with someone on the Echodify web app is really the first step in actually getting the option to select a specific individual to attach them as a recipient to an echo, a shout, or a virtual legacy that you're in the process of creating. And so that is how you make a connection with someone already signed up to Echodify. Now let's look at a couple other modified scenarios. What if the person is not already signed up as a member of Echodify? Well, again, let's focus on the web browser on the left-hand side, which is mine, Ambient Drone. If that's the case, and I wish to invite this person, a family member or a friend, to Echodify, I do have the option to send them an invitation. And to do that, I would go ahead and click this invite button. And when I click that button, I have the option to put in a first name, a last name, and an email address, all 3 of which are required. You can see the little red stars. And right here, that star means the fields are required. And optionally, but I don't have to, I can put a relationship. A relationship of who that person is to me, just to be clear. So if I'm trying to invite my brother, relationship would be brother. If I'm trying to invite my granddaughter, relationship would be granddaughter, because I'm inviting that person. That person is my granddaughter. And when I finish this, I just press the invite button. And when I do that, an invitation will be emailed to them to the address that I put into this email field. And so long, of course, if that person has not already unsubscribed from us, basically telling us, no, we don't want any emails from Echodify. Of course, we would respect anyone's request to unsubscribe from email communications. But let's assume that that's not the case. An invitation will be sent. And if you scroll down a little bit, we, just for clarity, transparency, and just to provide all the information to you about how we do things, we show you a sample of what that invitation email will look like. That way you know what it looks like, what it says, and you're able to give that person a heads up that you are sending them an invitation. Now, of course, that is assuming you want the person to know that you would like them to come and sign up for an account on Echodify. If you want to send legacy material, and that would be an echo, a shout, or a virtual legacy, to a person close to you, but you may not necessarily want that person to have any hint of it or to know anything about it. For whatever reason, you just want that extra veil of privacy. We do have an interesting option for you to be able to create what is called a private profile. And then that private profile is also selectable in the recipient list when you are creating your echo, your shout, and your virtual legacy. And let me show you what that looks like. Again, I'm looking at the browser on the left. It's my browser, Ambient Drone. I'm going to go ahead and click the handshake, and I'll just go to My Family Connections. And on the Family Connections, you'll see that there are actually 2 sections to this page. There is the actual Family Connections proper section at the top. And below it, there's this dividing line. And there is a section called Family Private Profiles. And here, there is what looks like a profile card for a person by the name of Samantha Jackson. But it's a different profile card. It is not a person that I have connected with on the Echodify web app. It is a private profile of a person I know in real life. In this case, the relationship here is great aunt. And I put certain information about them into this profile that I've created. And I therefore have a profile card to represent that person here. And again, as I just mentioned, when I go to create an echo, a shout, or a virtual legacy, this private profile will show as selectable along with all my other connections like Rob DeForge. And I can add it as a recipient to my echoes, my shouts, and my virtual legacies if I want to. And when the echo, the shout, and the virtual legacy is sent, the recipients, of course, are notified. And for every private profile recipient, they will receive an email telling them that you have, at that time, sent to them an echo, a shout, or a virtual legacy, and they will receive instructions on how to come to Echodify, how to register for an account in order to access that legacy material that you have sent to them. So let me show you how to create this private profile. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button called Add Private Profile. When I click this button, there are kind of two sections here. There's a section for essential items that I must supply. And technically, I only need to supply the fields that are in this or marked by this red asterisk. And that would be first name, last name. I can technically create a private profile just with that, except it's not going to go too far. I may want to do it because I just want to create that profile and start creating a virtual legacy ultimately to be sent to that person, and I just want to get that profile built. However, I do need eventually to come back and supply an email. I need some way that Echodify will use to contact that person in the future when that legacy, that virtual legacy, is ready to be delivered. And so I can supply first name, last name, and email address here, as well as another relationship field, relationship to you, like granddaughter. And if I scroll down to provide a much more comprehensive array of contact information, I can also supply address information, an alternate email address if I happen to know this person has two, and phone numbers here. This is an important time just to highlight the fact that all this data is subject to our double encryption, as we explain here. And what that means is that all the information that you would ever provide in here to define a private profile about a person close to you, that data is protected. It's protected by double encryption, industry standard military grade double encryption using AES 256 encryption algorithm. And it's also private and not used for any purpose other than to make sure that your legacy material is delivered to them ultimately in the future. We don't look at the information except for that purpose. We don't use the information at all except for that purpose. And that's important to us to convey because it's one of our core values upon which Echodify was established. So now that that's covered, if I put in some information, I'm just going to say maybe I have a brother John, same last name as me. I won't put an email address in there because, well, I just don't have one because this person doesn't exist. But if I had one, I'd put one in there. And that right there is sufficient to create a private profile. And so I'm going to click this add button, or I could click this add button down here if I put in some address information, which I don't have to. Both do the same thing. So I click add. And when I do click add, I'll notice that here it is. Here's a private profile card representing John DeForge, and relationship is blank because I did not put one in there. But he is my brother. Let's say he's pretend my brother. So I can go ahead and click his name to come back to his private profile. I'll notice that indeed the relationship field I did leave empty. I'm going to go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to click edit, and I'm going to put brother. I will update, so I'll click update, and there it is. I now have relationship to you, brother. I'm going to click on the handshake up here just to have a final glance at my family connections, and I see I am officially connected to Rob DeForge on the Echodify web app, and you saw that happen at the beginning of this instruction video. And down here in the family private profiles, I have created 2 private profiles for 2 individuals who will not know about it until the day comes when they are due to receive something I create for them, an echo, a shout, or a virtual legacy. Okay, interesting scenario. What happens if you want to delete a private profile? Or what if I want to disconnect or cancel the connection to Rob DeForge, my family member here? Well, you can delete a private profile by clicking on either the name or the avatar. And when you do that, you come to their private profile page. And if you scroll toward the bottom, you see you have some options here, one of which is to remove the private profile. You can also, as you see, you can switch this person over to your friends connection page if you wish. But for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and remove this private profile. Maybe I change my mind. I'll click remove. And now John DeForge, my pretend brother, his private profile is now deleted. Of course, he doesn't know about it because it's a private profile. That's the point. Up here for my actual connection to Rob DeForge, maybe the day comes where hey, I have a big falling out and you're not my brother anymore type thing. So when I click on his avatar picture, which he doesn't have one, it's the default one, but maybe in the future he will. The same type of scenario occurs if I scroll toward the bottom. I have some options here. I can switch this person over to the friends connection page if I want to, or I can go ahead and click remove connection. So I'm going to click remove connection, and I'll click the remove button. And now this person is removed. Now I've been returned back to his profile, and I see I have the add family and add friend buttons there again, so that kind of tells me my connection to him has been nullified. I can make a new one if I want to, but just to confirm, I'll go up here and click on the handshake and go to my family connections page, and he is not here anymore. In fact, I have no one here I'm connected to as family, and it tells me so. You have no connected family at this time. Now over here on the right-hand side, looking at Rob DeForge's logged in session, once he does something new and the web app refreshes and pulls new data in for him, maybe he clicks on the start page and he does something here, but it refreshes, he is now no longer connected to me. And he can verify that by going to his connections and selecting family. And yep, here it is. This entire section is blank. And it says you have no connected family at this time. He doesn't really get notified that I've kind of like dropped him as a connection, but he would eventually see that he's not connected with me anymore. The very last thing I want to show you is organizations, because they're kind of a different type of connection, because they're not an individual, they're an organization. They're not like a family or a friend. They're kind of like a library or a society or a religious organization that you actually might want to leave a legacy to. And so we treat that a little bit different. Let me show you how that works. Again here, if we just focus on the browser on the left-hand side, which is mine for ambient drone, and if I click on the handshake, I'm going to click on organizations. And there are similarities. I can link to an organization already on Echodify. I can also create a private profile for an organization that is not on Echodify, or that I just don't want to link to. Now, because organizations are kind of organizations, we call them links instead of connections. And just the reason behind that is when you're dealing with an individual, a family or a friend, you can kind of like connect with them. It's kind of like a two-way process. And you saw that where I sent Rob DeForge a connection request and he had to accept it, and now we're connected. But an organization is really, they don't really have to accept you linking to them in order for you then to include them as a recipient, because they're like an organization. It's kind of automatic. You can link to an organization based upon your own free will. And that's kind of why we call them links instead of connections. But putting that semantics aside for a moment, let me show you how to link to an organization. And the organization I will choose is Echodify. So I will search for Echodify up here in the search query, and I'll click search. Alternatively, just to show you, I can also go to the pancakes here, drop down this menu, and I can click on this search, which will bring me to the search page, both of which will accomplish the same thing. And I can type Echodify into this search query, and it will accomplish, as I just said, the same thing. I click search, and I look at my returned results. And I do see that I have found Echodify Inc. And I can look at the address, and I can use that as a cue that I have found the correct organization. Alternatively, I can click on the name or the avatar icon, and I can view their profile, and I can read their about and their bio, and anything that I can do to know with utter certainty that, yes, this is the organization I intend to link to. Another very important piece of information is the verification status of this organization. On Echodify's profile, it's located right here where it says verified org, and it's a green check mark. It says yes. Just going back one page, when I search for Echodify, right on this organization's profile card, it also says this organization is verified. What this means is, because it's an organization and it's really important to fight against imposter accounts for your protection and the integrity of our platform, we have a process through which an organization can verify themselves. They submit information to us, and we check that information, we contact them, and we make sure they are who they say they are. And once we have a surety that that is true, we will go ahead and mark them as verified. So just as a heads up, you can look for that as further a surety that you have found the right organization. But on their profile card, one of the buttons here is link org. So if I click that, I will just do that right now. The website refreshes, and I have just linked to Echodify, and I can verify that by going up here to the handshake, my connections. I'll click on organizations, which are my links, and you can see that Echodify Inc. is now appearing under my linked organizations. Now, Echodify was already a member of Echodify, and hopefully that makes sense. But if you want to leave a legacy to an organization that's not on Echodify, and for some reason you don't want to call them and ask them to come and join, you can still create a private profile to represent that organization, like I have down here for Shane Landing. I've created that profile in the exact same way that I created my profile for John DeForge, my fake brother, if you remember. And when I do so, I will then be able to select this private profile to receive legacy material. And when that virtual legacy is due to be sent, that organization will receive an email or some sort of notification that they are the recipient of your virtual legacy. And to create a private profile for an organization, you just follow the same steps as what we've already seen. You just press the button that says Add Private Profile, and you go through and you put in at least what is indicated by the red asterisks, because those are the required fields. And for an organization, because it's a little different than a person, we do require the organization's name, maybe a common name, and their address. A little bit more information than what we do require for an individual. And just go ahead and click the Add button, and that will go ahead and create your private profile for this organization. I will click Cancel because I'm not creating the profile at this time. And that is an overview of how to make connections on Echodify.com. Again, here under the handshake are your three options: family, friends, and organizations. Under each one, you have the choice of actually connecting with another member of Echodify, or sending an invitation to a person that you want to invite them to create an account, and then at that time you can connect. Or alternatively, down here you can create a private profile. And you can do so for family, for friends, and also for organizations. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great time making legacies.